Hello there, my dear friends. This is our third module on crimes against property and one of the most interesting aspects. And we will be talking about swindling, estafa, fraud. And what is the more interesting one is we will even touch on syndicated estafa, which will talk about the matter of the so-called financial scams, and the cases of Tibayan and Baladhay would be quoted as a reference. So without much ado, I am Dean JOE-SANTOS Balagtas Bisquera. I continue to be uploading a lot of very interesting subject matter in law, and I will not get tired for as long as there is one warm soul that will watch this particular uploads. So our topic for today is the third module in the subject matter of crimes against property. Sorry. And we have in this schematic diagram the four modules that we would like to handle in property crimes against property. I'm sorry about my voice. The first one, which is robbery, is already handled by an earlier YouTube upload. It is already available. We just uploaded theft, and here we discuss very excitingly the issue of qualified theft and the impact of a domestic helper committing qualified theft and being penalized two layers in the penalty. Tonight we will be handling swindling or estafa or fraud, and we will be reserving carnapping for the next upload. So let's now go to swindling, estafa, or fraud. And this particular module will tackle three major aspects. The first one would be the general principles of swindling, fraud, or estafa. The second module will go into the details of the elements of swindling. And the fourth one, we will handle very interestingly the syndicated estafa. So we will now proceed with the concept of swindling. Swindling, estafa, or fraud is understood to be a criminal offense where an owner gives away his money or property due to another person's acts, omissions, or concealment, made to deceive the owner, who suffers loss, damage, or injury through such deceit. Swindling can also be looked upon as a person defrauds or deceives another by means of false pretenses or fraudulent acts executed prior to or simultaneous with the fraud, which is the giving away of money or property. And this giving away is made possible by using a fictitious name or falsely pretending to possess power, influence, qualifications, property, credit, agency, business, or transactions, or by means of other similar deceits. This is defined in the case of Ariola versus People, a February 2020 decision, reiterating Article 315 of the revised Penal Code. The three elements of swindling or estafa would be: one, estafa with abuse of confidence, and two, estafa by means of deceit broken down by way of by false pretenses or fraudulent acts, and third, through fraudulent means. Introducing now the concept of fraud. Fraud is anything calculated to deceive, including all acts, omissions, and concealment involving a breach of legal or equitable duty, trust, or confidence justly reposed, resulting in damage to another, or by which an undue and unconscious advantage is taken of another. Fraud will also cover those multifarious means which human ingenuity can devise, resorted to by one individual to secure an advantage over another by false suggestions or by suppression of truth, to include all surprise, trick, cunning, dissembling, and any unfair way by which another is cheated. Again, lifted from the Ariola versus People case of February 2022. Deceit, which is a first cousin of fraud, is the false representation of a matter of fact. In effect, there is a fact, and this fact is distorted by way of a false representation, either by words or conduct, or by false or misleading allegations, by concealment of that which should have been disclosed, which deceives or is intended to deceive another. You remember that is a very beautiful terminology that we encountered in insurance, where concealment would be a distortion of the consent of the insurance company, where the proposed insured party did not disclose, and that is concealment, did not disclose significant fact about his health. And so deceit would include so that he shall not act upon it to his legal injury. Again, taken from the case of Ariola versus People. The opposite of fraud or deceit is good faith, which is a state of mind consisting in honesty in belief or purpose, faithfulness to one's duty or obligation, observance of reasonable commercial standards of fair dealing in a given trade or business, and a belief in one's legal title or right. We are now ready to go back to our main schedule, and so we are already through with the concept of general principles of swindling or fraud or estafa. Just take note that it is a way of depriving a person who will be willing to give up his money or his property because he was misled to believe by way of false pretenses, false words, or by the act of deceit or fraud. And so we are now ready to go into what are the elements of swindling. The grave man of estafa or fraud is the employment of fraud or deceit, in bottom line, panloloko, in order for the owner of the property, naloko siya so that he is willing to give, na he was misled to believe, to give up his money or property. So it is employment of fraud or deceit, in order to damage or prejudice another. This one is taken from People versus Aquino, a 2018 decision which picked up that very notorious Baladay scam and decided in People versus Baladhay, 26 July of 2017. Yan, maraming naloko dyan. And therefore, the elements of swindling or estafa would include false pretense, fraudulent act, or fraudulent means. Number 2, the false pretense, fraudulent act, or fraudulent means must be made or executed prior to or simultaneous with the commission of the fraud. The fraud is the taking of the money or the property of another, which he voluntarily gave because he was fooled, he was misled by way of false pretense, fraudulent act, or fraudulent means. Number 3, the offended party must have relied on the false pretense, fraudulent act, or fraudulent means and induced him to part with his money or property because of the false pretense, fraudulent act, or fraudulent means. Of course, the most famous example of this is somebody comes to you and says, this is a diamond ring, it's a gold ring where the diamond is loaded as a crown. Then this is worth about 500,000 pesos. And I do not want to part with this, the offender would say. But I am in need very badly of money because my wife is in the hospital and I'm willing to sell this for 50,000 pesos. So, whoever gets this, just worth 500,000, pays me only 10% or 50,000. Why don't you get it? Because if you get this, you can readily turn around and sell this for a higher price. I'm just in a hurry right now. And so the person offered the supposed diamond ring worth 500,000, offered to him at 50,000, only at 10%. Was still not sure of what he wanted to do. So the offender now further goes into a desperation type of tone and says, I really need the money very badly. And so I'm willing to give to you this ring. And perhaps you would allow me to rebuy that later on, repurchase that later on. But I'm willing to give it to you at 10,000. And then allow me to also redeem it. I'm even willing to double and pay you back 20,000 as soon as my emergency cash requirement is kusing. Kunin mo na. And you become excited. But you can use this money, $500,000. So you paid 10,000. 10,000. Now, where is the swindling? You were parting with the money of 10,000 thinking that in exchange for your 10,000, which is a bargain, you're getting a ring with a diamond on it worth 500,000. That was the fraudulent act. That was the false pretense of making you believe that that particular property being sold to you is worth much more. No, it's a false pretense on property where it is overvalued by way of a fraudulent declaration, and you got carried away by that, no? And so you paid the 10,000. Actually, you were getting probably only not more than 1,000 pesos. And so the offended party must have relied on the false pretense that it's worth 500,000 and the fraudulent act of selling it to him at a bargain or the fraudulent means, and induce the person to part with these 10,000 pesos because of the false pretense, fraudulent act, or fraudulent means. As a result of parting with this money, the offended party suffered the damage that he was expecting to get in exchange 500,000 ring, and yet he probably would got only worth 1,000 pesos or even 500 ring. This is lifted, the elements of swindling was lifted from the case of Montano versus People, a December 2001 decision. Now, what about the elements of swindling characterized by deceit, panloloko? Probably the elements are the same, but let's go through it. In more detail, number one, a swindling through deceit would involve false pretense or fraudulent representation on the offender's power or the offender's influence, qualifications, ayun, property. The property was overvalued, and so that is the false pretense or the false fraudulent representation. Or agency. A person says, I'm authorized to sell this this land because I have this special power of attorney. So, or probably even, I am playing around with legal. He says, normally I would be carrying a special power of attorney. But I have even more powers because I have now a general power of appointment. Yung kausap, hindi nila intindihan. The special power of appointment is what authorizes the agent to sell in behalf of the principal or the owner of the real property. So, pinakita general power of appointment. Kawawa naman yung hindi nanood ng ating YouTube. Hindi niya alam na yung general power. Kung sa military general yon, mas mataas yun. Okay? Pero pagdating sa agency, yung special power ang mas mataas at mas may power. Yung general power, lang yon, act of administration. Pero yun, niloko na naman siya. No, agency. Or business, or imaginary transaction. Yan, imaginary transaction. Okay, next. The false pretense or fraudulent representation made or executed prior to or simultaneous with the fraud committed. The taking of the money or property was preceded by the false pretense or fraudulent representation. Okay. Kaya yun ang pambobola na ginawa. Okay. And then number 3, the offended party relied on the false pretense, fraudulent act or fraudulent means, and was induced to part with this money. Naniwala siya, kaya binitawan niya yung kanyang pera. In our example, binitawan niya 10,000 in exchange for a ring that has no value. And as a result of parting with this money, the offended party suffered damage. Again, reiterating Article 315 of the Revised Penal Code and demonstrated in the case of Montano versus People. And so that ends our discussion of the elements of swindling. Tandaan nyo yung panloloko, yung fraudulent, pretense, fraudulent representation, yung deceit, para makuha yung pera nung may pera. Okay, yun ang element. And so finally, we go into syndicated estafa. The concept of syndicated estafa is that it is just like any swindling or estafa or other forms of swindling. Pareho lang. The person was deprived of his property, he gave up his property because he was made to believe, on fraudulent pretense, or misrepresentation. Except that it is syndicated estafa when there is a syndicate of 5 or more persons committed the swindling. Tandaan niyo yung mga numbers, Pagka dalawa, conspiracy. Pag-apat, di ba? Especially in the case of pinapag-usapan natin, robbery. Then, when you talk about robbery in band, 4. Pagdating ngayon sa syndicated estafa, 5. So, 2 for conspiracy, 4 for robbery in band, and then ito ngayon, lumalabas, syndicated estafa, 5 or more. Okay. However, it is very interesting that this kind of swindling is undertaken in a unique way. That the fraud, yung panloloko, results in the misappropriation of monies. No? In other words, they were able to, these 5 or more people were able to solicit contribution from stockholders. So may korporasyon. So they were offering the corporation, they were saying, why don't you become owners of this corporation by subscribing to its shares of stock? And so you give us your subscription amount. Or they would say, we are organizing a rural bank. We are organizing a cooperative or a samahang nayon or a farmers association. And we would like to solicit from you your contribution to become members of any of these rural banks, cooperative, samahang nayon, or farmers association. Yeah. And the funds solicited by corporations and associations are normally solicited from the general public. Hindi pa isa-isa, kundi talagang massive campaign. We're forming here, for example, a corporation. This corporation will be involved, for example, with indigenous, ngayon may maganda. Sabihin, this corporation has been able to have an exclusive resource of deuterium gas. Yung deuterium gas na yan, nandyan sa may bandang Palawan. And not so many people know about deuterium gas. Sinisikreto nga pati ng Malacanang. And so we were able, we happened to own the property. And it was established by seismologists na meron nga talagang deuterium. And the deuterium samples were already tested. Yayaman dito, mas marami pa yung Saudi Arabia. $21 billion lang dito raw. 50 billion ang kikitain. At isa lang site ito. Yan lang sa may Palawan. Meron pa sa Mindanao, mas malaki sa Sulusi. Malalim lang, pero ito medyo mas malapit. So we have organized a corporation. Pag na-form na ito, siyempre pagka binenta ng shares of stocks, tataas na yan. Marami na gusto. We will make you now the original incorporators. Corporators kayo. 5 lang pwede na. Kayo 5 pwede na. Mag-contribute na kayo. Kami yung we are also contributors. No? And we will be about 10. So please give us already your contribution to your articles of incorporation bylaws. Please sign already. Okay. So nagbigay ng pera dito sa organizers. Or it may be an organization of a rural bank. Dahil, Bongbong Marcos is putting a lot of emphasis on mobilizing the agricultural sector, increasing the production of rice, following the pattern that his father in Sagana 99 started. Then even organizing farm marketing cooperatives that will now replace all of these middlemen. Katulad nung isa na kinorner yung supply ng sibuyas, onions. Hindi na pwede yun. We will form cooperatives and we would like you to participate. Hindi kailangan malaking investment. Probably 5,000 pesos will become cooperatives naman. 20 members yan. You will be one of the earliest ones. Or samahang nayon or farmers association. And so they campaign. So the syndicate campaigns now for funds to be generated by contribution of the general public. That is what was demonstrated in the case of People versus Aquino in November 2018 decision. And so the syndicate in Estafa would be a group that must be at least 5 in number para pumasok siya sa syndicated estafa for prosecution. The second, the group must have formed or managed a rural bank, cooperative, samahang nayon, farmers association, or any other corporation or association that solicits funds from the general public. It's just reiterating what was mentioned here in the tabulation earlier. And finally, the group formed or managed such association to carry out an unlawful or illegal act, transaction, enterprise, or scheme. They used the association to defraud its own association, stockholders, members, and depositors. Wala palang ganong korporasyon. Wala palang ganong rural bank. Walang ganong, puro fake yung mga dokumento. But they were able to solicit money and then they ran away. Yun. So they committed what is called syndicated estafa. Now, there is a very special scheme on syndicated estafa, which is called the Ponzi scheme. And this is very interesting because you need to familiarize yourself. Baka madali kayo nitong racket na ito na for those who know, hindi na bago. But if you do not know about it, lalapitan ka, madedenggoy ka. So let's take a look. The Ponzi scheme is a type of investment fraud. So again, they will invite you for your savings, your investable funds. And they will now say that involves the payment of purported returns to existing investors from funds contributed by new investors. So sasabihin, okay, alam mo, mag-invest ka kahit na 5,000 pesos. Yung 5,000 pesos mo, in 60 days, may 20% interest income yan. So 5,000 mo, magiging 6,000. In fact, alam niyo na yung racket, no? We will give you in 4 post-dated checks. Kung 6,000 yan, divided by 4, no? That will be about 6,000 divided by 4, 20, 1,500. 4 checks. Itong unang check, immediately encashable. Then we will put your name. And then the 3 other checks will be encashable dahil 60 days. So ito, spread over 60 days. So ito, bayad ka agad, no? Yung huling-huli, siyempre, ika-60th day. So, ito, 30 days kasi bayaran ka na. Then 45 days. Yan. Pero yung interest, ipapatong na naman kagad dito sa unang bayad. Actually, spread, sorry. Kaya nga pala 6,000. Spread over, ito na yung cheque. So, mag-contribute ka na. Ayan. So, ang scheme naman, wala naman silang pagkukunan ng additional 1,000. Hanap na naman sila ng iba. Sasabihin na naman nila, ito, mag-invest ka na naman ng 5,000. So, yung na-invest mo, mga 5-6 yung nakuha gano'n. Yun ang pambayad doon sa down payment na 1,500. So, naka 1,500 doon sa isa, 1,500. So, pag may nag-invest ng isa, 5,000, mababayaran mo na agad yung meron na initial payment. 1,500, 1,500, 1,500, 4,500 kagad yun. Na encashable. Pero actually, kinuha yun doon sa second group na nag-invest din. Maghahanap ng third group ngayon para pambayad doon sa second group. Yan ang Ponzi scheme. Okay. Now, each organizer solicit new investors. Parating ganun. Recruit na recruit. By promising to invest funds in opportunities, claim to generate high returns with little or no risk. And then number 3, the perpetrators focus on attracting new money. Kasi yung new money, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, yun ang pantakip doon sa mga cheque na magmamature. Para yung second wave ng cheque, nag-i-encash pa rin. Third wave, nag-i-encash pa rin. Yung fourth wave, may-encash kasi nang galing ang pera doon. Pero yung mga first wave, sasabihin, doblihin nyo na yung nyo. Tamo, totoha ka na naman to eh. Nag-invest kayo ng 5,000, nakuha nyo 6,000. Alam mo, kunin nyo na yung 1,000, reinvest nyo yung 5,000. In fact, sayang naman, doblihin nyo na. Ayan, 5 plus 5. So, immediately, kikitain nyo kagad, post-dated check kagad na kung doble, abutin kagad yun ng kung Kung 6,000 yung investment mo, 5,000 plus 1, nakuha mo kagad yung 1,500. O edi makakakuha ka na i-reinvest mo yung 10,000 mo. Gawin mo na 12. Wag mo na wag mo na gastos yung interest. Para makakuha ka naman ng pera kagad. Makukuha mo na yung pera kagad Magagastos mo kagad. Roll over. And they try to, so while they're recruiting new members, they're also trying to recycle yung first wave. Kaya tuloy-tuloy. No? Kung titingnan mo talaga, kung masipag itong they can last long. Mahusay sa pagre-record, naka-computerize, updated and posting. Tapos magaling pa sa accounting. Kaya yan. So, that would allow them to focus on not only new money, but new money from new investors, but also rolled over money from existing investors na nawiwili. Kaya yung iba, nagsimula ng 5,000, sabi niya, Tony, pumalo na ng 50,000 yung pera ko Kung titingnan mo, hindi naman 50,000 kasi nabobola na siya 1,000 o 1,000 roll over. Talagang nagsimula siya 5,000. Anyway, the perpetrators focus on attracting new money to make promise payments to earlier stage investors. No? Yun yung surface. Pero pwede rin kasi yung unang investor nag-reinvest. So bumalik din yung pera. So sabay-sabay. To create the false appearance that investors are profiting from illegitimate business. And finally, the conman collects his money from his second or third round of investors. Sa bawat ikot na ganun, pagka napapaniwala, yung third and fourth, dumudukot na rin siya doon. Di ba? Para makinabang na siya. Yung una, nag-sacrifice siya, roll over. Pero yung pangalawa, dumudukot na siya. Para kumita siya. And then absconds before anyone shows up to collect. Alam mo yan, kung marami, tumatagal yan. 1 year, 2 years yan. At magaling mambola. Ganyan nangyari doon sa mga previous scam. Isa si Baladay. At si Baladay, naka-recruit siya ng mga magagaling na kilala ko, mga managers pa humingi nga na tulong sa akin dahil hinabol din sila ng mga nag-invest sa kanila. In fact, I have some clients na ipanalo ang lalaking mga kasi nag-retrenchment kami sa Motorola. Nakakuha ng 2 months for every year of service yung mga empleyado. But I became their lawyer. Meron pang 3rd month. Kasi yung vested right yun. Napanalo namin yun up to Supreme Court. So may dala-dala pa silang pera. Yung iba, binarat pa ako sa attorney's fee. Nung pala, yung maiiwan na malaki, itinalayan na kay Baladay. At maraming mga nag-e-agent doon sa kumpanya na isa, yung cashier na babae, mabait kausap, magaling magsalita. Yung isa naman, ang wife niya dating nasa Motorola, siya naman very reputable at mabait na manager, operations manager. So, influential at mayaman. Siyempre, malaking kinikita ng asawa niya, tsaka siya in their own business, tsaka malaking sweldo. So, people will never mistrust them that they have entered into that kind of thing. Sabi na kami, talaga yumaman na kasi may ganitong investment. Gusto nyo, bumakas kayo. Di siyempre, iba naman gayaan, invest din. Later on, nung sumakabog na si Baladay, sila rin mismo naipit. So they had to run to Canada. And this is the kind of thing that has happened. No? So yun yung Ponzi scheme. No? Before I go to, meron akong private note sa inyo. Let me share with you one real situation in Fuji Xerox. In Fuji Xerox, the credit and collection group was a dear group to me. There were at least 3 groups working with me. The first one is the accounting group, headed by a controller. Siyempre, trabaho sila sa accounting. Medyo nung pumasok ako, medyo magulo yung accounting. Pina-accelerate ko pa yung computerization. Under din sa akin kasi, yung tinatawag no na Management Information Systems, which is the IT group ngayon, Information Technology Group. So I have systems analyst programmers. So dahil they were reporting to me, sabi ko, pag-aralan natin itong accounting, magulo, ayusin natin so that we will have our fully computerized system para bibilis, walang error. So nakafocus yung dalawang grupong yun. Accounting, pinagbubuti yung kanilang trabaho. I have to guide them on some of the mistake that in systems work na kaya magulo. And then I told the IT people, ito, tulungan nyo to, ganito natin ko computerize. But the critical group that works with me, of course, yung treasury, which essentially monitors yung pasok ng pera, yung pagtitipid naman sa paglabas ng pera. But from the point of view of finance and money, we have accounts all over the Philippines. But the biggest, of course, is in Metro Manila, where what we do is we rent out. No? If the customer cannot buy the equipment, we tell the equipment yung lease with an option to purchase. Yan. At yung lease, no, mangyayari, while they're using the Xerox machine, there is a counter kung may Metro. And so this counter is being read at the beginning of the month and then the following, at the end of the month, or the beginning of the following month. So yung difference, kung nagsimula sa 0, nag-register ng 10,000 sheets na ginamit during the month, then ibibill namin ng 10,000. Meron kami, I think, 10% allowance for spoilage. Kasi kung minsan, nag-stock up yung makina, yung drum, nagre-reklamo naman yung customer na hindi naman namin nagamit yung papel sumabit to masira yung papel na. So we give them a 10% allowance. So kung gumamit ng 10,000 yun sa reading, babawas namin 1,000, we know that nagamit 9,000. Then we bill, we invoice. So, and on the basis of this, yun ang trabaho ng aming credit and collection department. It's a big one. All over the Philippines, they are scattered, no? Cebu, Davao, Bacolod. So when I go there, tuwan-tuwa sila kasi I am one of the very few na CEO nila, CFO nila, Chief Finance Officer, Executive VP pa, na really go out and visit them. In fact, I would even go out with them to accompany them in collection. Nakikilala ko din yung mga customers namin. And so, lalong nahihiya silang hindi magbayad dahil na-meet nila yung executive VP, yung number 2 guy at big boss ng finance sa Makati. Na napunta doon, for example, sa Sultan Kudarat o sa Maguindanao o sa Cagayan de Oro. They remember that. And so the collectors are really upbeat and very proud. But it is in Metro Manila where we have the bulk of our installation. So nakaikot yan. 50 collectors yan. Nakakalat all over. San Miguel, Citibank, Supreme Court, Shell, lahat yan. Nakakalat sila. And they would have that regular activity of reading the meter, issuing the invoice, and then following up on the collection. Well, I tried to improve their performance kasi baong kami sa utang And so that therefore, I explained to them that yung labor union kasi namin, 7 yung officers, 4 nun sa 7, pati yung presidente, they were part of my credit and collection group. So, hindi mo naman pwedeng aawayin yan, mangungulekta, no? Hindi. So I developed a certain scheme where they become excited about our collection efforts. Tsaka ako mismo nagbibigay pagka na-meet nila yung budgeted collection nila. Ako mismo nag-aabot sa kanila nung cheque at may kasama pang sandwich at soft drinks. Every month, ganun. Before and then we give them a big clap, Simula yun sa 50 na yun, 5 lang yung unang nakamit. Noong sumunod na buwan, na doble, 10. Pag hindi ka nakamit ng target mo, wala ka lang ano, wala ka lang bonus, wala ka pang sandwich, wala kang palakpak. Siyempre, ngingiti-ngiti si yung boss nila si Atty. Bisquera na naiiwan kaya ta. And so that improved. That improved a lot. There was a time na after I think 6-7 months, I had to visit, make a presentation, manage a presentation sa Singapore, regional office namin. And it so happened, nasabit ako na ay inabot ng ng weekend, Friday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Kailangan yung second Monday magmi-meet kami, and I always do that. So my assistant vice president credit collection manager si Nonong Villanueva was calling me sa Singapore and saying, "Boss, makakabalik ka ba ng Monday doon sa 9 o'clock meeting natin? Kasi ikaw ang nagbibigay personally sa kanila nung bonus check nila tsaka yung mga sandwich at soft drinks. Nasanay na sila na nandun ka. Pinapalakpakan natin sila." Sabi ko, no, wala namang problema yun I'm authorizing you to release the check in my name. Boss, iba pag ikaw nandito, and they really expect you. And so, I tried very hard to finish my official business with my superiors, my Japanese superiors in Singapore. So I was able to take the last flight to Manila on a Friday. So nandito na ako ng Saturday. And then Sunday, and then meet kami ng Monday. Kaya pala they wanted me to be there. Kasi ang deal doon is when those who have met their target, siyempre nakalagay doon, target, actual, the accomplishment. By ano yun? Alphabetical. Kaya pagka nandun ang pangalan mo, na-meet mo yung target, tatayo ka. Kasi papalakpakan ka sabay-sabay. Isang palakpak na gano'n. Pa-increase ng pa-increase. From 5 naging 10. Mamaya, kukunti na lang naiiwan. 15 na lang. Siyempre, nape-pressure na rin sila. The reason pala why they wanted me to come is lalabas. Kami lang ni Nono ang nakaupo na papalakpak. Kasi all of them met their targets. Oh my God, I did not know. And pagkatanggap ko ng report ng Saturday, dala-dala ni Nonong, sabi niya, "Boss, kaya gustong-gusto nilang dumating ka. Kasi tayong dalawa lang ang nakaupo. Lahat sila tatayo. Tayong dalawa papalakpak. And of course, they expect you to individually give them alphabetical in the check. Lahat sila may sandwich at soft drinks ngayon." Because it was getting to be a lot of fun. And so, yun ang nangyari. So it was a very, sabihin na natin, all of these people started lower level, messenger, janitor, no? Siyempre sa tagal, 20 years na sila. In the past, burden sa kanila yung collection. Ating target, sabunan, gano'n. Sa akin, hindi. Naging parang game, katuwaan. Gano'n. It was fun. So, naging very, very close kami with each other, and meeting our target was not an issue of performance. It was an issue na masaya kami nagagawa namin. What I wanted to tell you was, with this kind of spirit and camaraderie, meron isa doon na popular. Medyo, siya, softy. Sabihin na natin, LGBT siya. No? Malaki lalaki. At he seems to be, to know how to handle himself. Medyo parating sobrang pera niya. Niya makamag-anak doon na mayayaman. So he's just working for the heck of the fun. No? So siya utangan ng mga tao. But when we were able to accelerate our collection, at may mga pera na yung mga tao, no? They have already good take-home pays. In-encourage siya ngayon mag-placement. Ngayon na pumasok. Balik na investment. 2,000, 3,000, 5,000. and they make 20%. Ganun nga. Papatungan yung 5,000 ng 1,000, 6,000 spread over 4 months. And then I found out of the 50 or more collectors, siguro 10 lang doon ang hindi nag-i-invest. Lahat na encourage. And I was bothered because if something goes wrong with the scheme na nag-invest sila at yun ay hard-earned savings nila out of their commissions, magkakaroon ako ng problema. I will have demoralization. So I called this guy. Sabi ko sa kanya, uy, alam ko ikaw mayaman ka, nagpapautak kayo. Ay, hindi naman sir. Hindi ko naman kayo matataob sa yaman. Hindi, komportable kayo. So, gusto ba? Sabi ko. Ano ba ang reason paano mo na babayaran ng ganong kalaking interest? Sir, meron akong uncle sa Australia mayaman ho. Meron mo siyang farm ng mga baka, cattle, mga sheep. Meron po siyang, may-ari siya ng mall. Meron siyang mga barko. Pero kung minsan, yung timing ng cash flow niya sa business niya, isang kinakapos, kaya nga, sasabi sa akin, mababayaran ko naman yan regularly. Pero kung minsan ba, pwede mong i-ready yung cash dyan. Yun ho ang iniipon ko at kinukuha sa investment, nababayaran naman. O sigurado mo ganun yan na mayra, hindi ko nahihingin yung credentials ng uncle mo. Hindi ko siya. Kasi kako, pagka hindi mo nabayaran yan, magkaka-trouble. After a while, my God, I heard a big noise na nawawala raw itong taong ito. Hindi nagre-report for 1 week na. At yung mga checking nagtatalbugan na. Sabi ko sa loob-loob ko, eto na sinasabi ko na O paano nangyari na supposedly may uncle na mayaman pero pumapalya. So finally, we investigated. Hindi pala totoo na may uncle. Nasilip din niya yung kay Baladay. Nag-ano rin siya, sumali siya doon. Na doon din siya naglalagay ng pera. Sumabit si Baladay, sabit siya. Sa loob-loob ko, ayan na. I do not know. Well, at that point, I was already leaving the company. I was taking my optional retirement para maging dean ng University of Manila College of Law. At na-encourage na ako ng chairman of the board na magre-retire na yung aking paboritong professor at dean, the late Michael Moralde. Ako raw lang ang nominee. So sabi ko, masarap naman siguro maging din ng College of Law at retired na At least yung honor. No? So I left. I do not know anymore what happened to those exposure. But I am always reminded that you cannot, yung ganyan mga scam, madali mong mahuli. Ngayon nga, tinanong ko, saan mo nilalagay yung pera? Yun nga, nilalagay doon sa supposedly, yung business ng uncle, kumikita yun, so may pambayad. Kasi kung hindi kumikita yun, hindi mababayaran yung mahal na interest. Alam nyo naman, even sa palengke, magpa 5-6 ka. Magkano ang interest sa 5-6, no? Sa 5-6, for example, umutang ka ng say, 5,000. Papatungan nyo ng say, 10%. Di sa 60 days yun, 10%, 5,550 lang yun. 10% lang naman kasi. O kung 2 months, 20%. Pero 10% lang. So, nagbabayad ka ng interest na 10%, good for 60 days. Para yung binabayaran mo sa biyahero, mas mura. Yung nababayaran mo sa, yung discount mo sa biyahero, bababa ng mas mababa ng konti. No? So, yung inutang mo, magagamit mo na yun. But here is the catch. Hindi lang bumababa yung cost mo ng pagbayad sa biyahero. When you turn around, no? Pagkadating ng gulay, prutas, karne, isda, mahina ang 40 to 60% yan, patong. That is why,
kung papatong ka ng 40% doon sa tinda mo ngayon, babayaran mo 10% at the end of 60 days. Tubong-tubo ka, nakatipid ka doon sa nakatipid ka na doon sa bayad sa biyahero, no? Maliit lang yung kinain nung interest mo sa 5-6. Kaya yung mga Bombay nabubuhay sa mga palengke. Kasi ganun ang tubo na 40 to 60% ang patong depende sa produkto na involved. So yun, wala kang problema kung ikaw nagpapautang doon. Basta marunong kang magpautang. Tapos may intubo nila mas malaki kesa sa interest ng 5-6. And so that is exactly what I'd like to share with you here. Technically, this is something to do already with an input on financial management na isang area of my expertise, and I will develop a separate what they call this YouTube ID. In fact, 2 years na ako dito Naka 7,000 na viewers na ako. May mga YouTubes ako, pumapalo na 17 viewers. But ewan ko, I've been sending messages to your YouTube, AdSense and so on. Hindi pa ako nababayaran kahit piso. Samantalang yung iba ikukwento lang yung kalibugan nila Araw-araw yata kumikita. Ako hirap na hirap. Masisira tuloy yung libog. Wala kasi libog ito low Pero I have not earned anything here. No? Talagang labor of love ito. But anyway, hihiramin natin yung little expertise ko in finance to link it up with this swindling. No? How do you build up wealth? Paano ka nagpapalago ng kayamanan? Wealth, kayamanan is the additional money one gets when he buys a commodity. Ito, nagbi-business ka. Nagbabay and sell ka. So, you use the money to buy a commodity at a cost lower than the price when you sell the product. Siyempre, simpleng logic. Binira mo ng 10 piso, ibenta mo ng 15, meron kang 5 piso. Pero para mabili mo yung 10 piso, dapat may puhunan ka. No? Let's say you need something like 500 units of mango. Dapat meron kang kapital. Pero pag naibenta mo lahat yun, tumubo ka agad ng 5 pesos per 10 peso investment. Ganun yun. And so that therefore, in trading, if you are the one involved in trading, you buy and sell the same commodity without changing the substance of the product. Yung pa rin. Diniliver sa yung isda. Normally, hindi mo naman pinakikialaman yung isda except kung gagawin mong daing. Konting processing. Or nag-deliver ng tahong, hugas-hugasan mo lang, lagay mo sa yelo para hindi masira kung hindi maibenta the same day. Or for example, fruits. Or for example, vegetables. Ganun din. So you do not change the thing. Ganon din naman yung mga nasa supermarket, yung mga department store. Pag diniliver sa kanila doon, ready to wear na. Ganon din sa hardware. But there are certain businesses where you are involved in changing the raw material to finished product. So in manufacturing, the businessman uses technology. Either yung technology nandun sa makina. So ipapasok mo yung raw material, yung makina may technology to convert that into finished product with some other additional thing. Or for example sa gamot, yung active ingredient, ipapasok mo sa sa makina mo, ihahalo mo sa tubig, meron ka ng cough syrup. Or ihahalo mo sa sa binder o starch. Magkakaroon tapos shapean mo, meron shaping machine, magiging tablet or capsule, o yung capsule gelatin. Tapos ipapackage mo na. Ganon. So there is, with the use of formulas and machines, you are able to change the material that you bought to come out with a better product that the customer will buy. So sa trading, wala kang gagalawin. Sa manufacturing, you will now bring in technology and you will be bringing additional probably materials, no, through chemistry and electronics and things like this, no, they're able to produce a product different from what you put in as your raw materials. In whatever way, the money that you use to buy your finished product for sale, for sale as in trading, or the money that you buy for the raw materials na paghahalu-haluin mo, including the machine, pera yung ginagamit mo yun. Babayad ka. And then, when you are able to sell the product, what you also get is money. So, money yung lumabas, pumasok sa proseso mo yung produktong binili mo o your material. Pagka nilabas mo, binenta mo, pera rin yung babalik sa'yo. So, money is to money. But where is the business? The selling price, yun, of the finished product should be normally higher than yung total cost mo. Kung binili mo na 10 piso, dapat ibenta mo ng 15 pesos para meron kang tinatawag na add-on profit, which is 5 pesos for every 10 pesos. Yun ang dapat na mahanap mong formula na meron kang market na binibili yung produkto mo sa bawat bebenta mo. Meron kang 5 pisong tubo. Tapos 10,000 yung everyday na bumibili sa'yo. Di meron kang 50,000 na tubo every day. You are in business. No? Yan tinatawag natin in business parlance. Meron kang business model. Meron ka nakitang produkto na bibilin mo yung input mo ng mura, ibebenta mo ngayon mas mahal. So, buy, sell, buy, sell. Sa bawat buy, sell mo, merong naiipon ka na tubo, yung add-on. Yung add-on na yun. And so, the money he uses to buy is his capital. Yun ang capital mo. Yung pambili mo ng input mo, raw material mo, or finished product na bibenta mo. Yung binabayad mo, yun ang capital mo. No? And if it is your money that you put there, that you are able to use to buy, so you can sell, buy, you can sell, no, is what is called your invested capital. And your invested capital is yung naipon mong savings. Tapos pagka nagba-buy, sell ka na, yun din yung add-on mo na naipon. Sa'yo yun. Yung puhunan mo, tsaka yung naipon. Pero kung minsan, you do not have enough capital, so you can use another person's money. Uy, may sobra ka pala dyan, 10,000, 30,000, 100,000. Gusto mo, paggamit mo sa akin yan. In effect, I borrow money from you. I borrow money from you. Of course, I pay you interest. Dahil gagamitin mo yung pera mo. Hindi mo naman ginagamit, mabuti, tumubo. And so with this, no, when you have now your invested capital, tapos i-combine mo sa borrowed capital mo, you have your total capital na yun ang pinambabayad mo sa input. Na kapag nakuha mo naman yung finished product, pag binenta mo, lumalaki. Kasi nga yung add-on. And so therefore, the add-on, when you sell the product, is the money to pay the owners of his capital or their capital. Kumbaga sa yung may-ari ng borrowed capital mo, who are your creditors? Ikaw yung debtor, may utang ka. Siyempre, hindi po pwedeng libre yung ginagamit mo yung pera niya. Gusto niya bayaran mo rin siya ng interest plus yung kapital. Tapos, ikaw din mismo, ginagamit mo yung kapital mo. If you were not using your capital in your business, you would have put that in the bank and dapat kumikita rin. So, dapat meron ka rin kitain na interest which will come from your add-on. Okay? So yung add-on mo that when you sell the product is the money that you pay at least for the cost of capital. Cost of borrowed capital, which is your interest, and cost of capital for your own money. And so if you now look at it, your borrowed capital is obviously mutuum. So you pay for the use of that money by way of parang rental mo nung pera. And we call that your interest. Interest income yun, given to the owner of the borrowed funds. And for your invested capital, you're supposed to get in whatever form dividends. Lalo na kung korporasyon ka, dividends ka. Okay. So that is how things would work. That is why the percent add-on profit needs to be always greater than the combined cost of borrowed funds and invested capital. Kaya sinasabi ko, kapag yung tindera sa palengke umutang ng 5-6, say nagbabayad siya ng 10%. Pero yung 10% niya, good for 60 days. Nakakalat yun over 60 days. Pero kung ginamit niya yung pera sa day 1 at bumili siya, no, tapos nagbenta siya, kumita siya ng 40%. No? Aba, yung 10% niya na spread over 60 days, sa una pa lang transaksyon, bawi na niya yun. And so, kaya niya magbayad ng mataas na 5-6. Yun. Eh, kung hindi siya kumikita ng 40% at lugi siya, yun, hindi siya makakabayad. At definitely, mababankrupt siya. Okay. But that is where your whole ball game is all about. And so, when someone borrows your money to pay you 20% in 60 days, sabi sa'yo, oh, Brad, pwede bang utangin yung 100,000 mo? Babayaran kita ng 20% in 60 days. Yung 100,000, 20%. 20,000 yun. So your 100,000 after 6 days, 120,000 na yun. O i-roll over mo yun. Malaki yun. Ano? And so, it says here, when someone borrows your money to pay you 20% in 60 days, his percent add-on profit siya. Saan niya kukunin yung pambayad na 20% na yun? No? His add-on profit must be more than 20% in 2 months. So yung sinabi natin, kung 40% yun every day, aba, 40, 80, 120, okay yun. Pero obviously, over a period of 60 days, dapat mas malaki sa 20% yung kinikita niya, yung add-on niya, para mabayaran kanya ng 20%. Kung hindi, tagilid siya. No? Pero, in 1 year, kung kumikita siya ng 20%, no? 20, let's say, he makes 20% only, no? In 60 days. 60 days sa isang taon, 6 na beses yun, 6 na turnaround yun. So 20% times 60 is 120%. Kung ikaw nagpapautang na yan, kikitain mo. Kung siya naman ganun kinikita, meron siya 120%. So kung totoo yun, why should he borrow money from you? So you become rich when he can keep his secret product to make him richer by more than double his invested capital. Kung magkano kung umuutang sa iyo yun, no? At willing siya maggaroon, ba't pa siya uutang? Ano, pinapaano ka niya? Pinapayaman ka niya. Pero totoo yun, yung iba hindi marunong magkwenta or siguro hindi sila marunong mag-ipon. Kaya yung mga 5-6 na mga Bombay kumikita. At the same time, natutulungan din nila yung mga yung mga nangihiram. No? Pero kung yung nangihiram, mautak. No? Magtitipid lang siya ng konti sa kanyang gastos, no? Para yung buong kita niya, kikitain. That is the reason why when somebody comes to you and says, maglagay ka sa akin ng magpautang ka sa akin, bayaran kita ng 20% 60 days. Tingnan mo na sa kanya, saan mo gagamitin yung pera? Precisely, yun ang tinanong ko, doon sa staff ko na sinasabi niya, nilalagay niya sa kanyang uncle na sa Australia. Kung sinabi lang niya ang totoo, no, sasabihin ko na sa kanya, huwag mo nang gawin yan sa mga kasama mo, masasabit ka. No, pero hindi niya sinabi, nagsinungaling siya sa akin. So meron din siyang false pretense. Meron siyang false representation. Hindi niya sinabi. Kaya niloko niya kami kung saan niya nilalagay yung pera. Kasi alam niya, I would be able to analyze na delikado yung ginagawa niya. Exactly. Kaya nagkalugi-lugi yung mga tao. And so this slide is a slide in law and not business. No? Yung pinag-uusapan natin, medyo nangihiram na tayo ng konting concept sa business. Pero konting-konti lang. Common sense lang. But anybody who falls into the trap of scams may learn something so basic here. No? Na pagka mag-i-invest ka at malaki masyado yung tinutubo, tanungin mo, saan mo gagamitin yung pera ko? Nakikita ka na mas malaki kesa doon sa binabayad mo sa akin. And if you can check on that, no? Double check mo kung binobola ka. Then you'll be able to ascertain na kung ganun kalaki tubo niya, ba't pa siya mangungutang sa'yo? Di ba, no? O titiisin na lang niya na mag-ipon siya kasi mas malaki ang kikitain niya. Or after a while, pinuutang mo siya, after a while, babayaran ka na niya, hindi na paulit-ulit. Di ba, no? Pero hindi, minsan paulit-ulit kasi posibleng hindi niya kinikita yung at hindi niya kinikita yung delikado ka. And that's when you stop lending him money. Okay? Now, I'd like to share with you that I could not find this fundamental wealth formula to allow me to follow my intelligent friends. Marami kong mga kaibigan, mayayabang. Mayaman na raw sila using cryptocurrency trading. Narinig natin sinabi ni Manny Villar. Sinabi ni Manny Pacquiao, yun daw sikreto nila ng malaking pagyaman. So, many people have talked to me and said, but hindi may consider yun kasi maraming nag-invest doon. So, I tried to talk to some of the traders in cryptocurrency. And what I get is sininghalan lang ako. Alam lang daw nila yung procedure kung paano mag-i-invest. So, kung interesado ako mag-invest, tuturo nyo sa akin paano mag-invest. Hindi ka ako, saan napupunta yung pera? Kasi nga, ito nga, yung multiplier effect ng add-on profit. Hindi raw nila alam yun. Malayo raw sa kanilang kapasidad na ano. So, up to now, I have not invested because I studied the mechanism of cryptocurrency. At parang ganun din parang gumamit lang ng malaking computer, ginamit ang world market, pero in reality, scam pa rin But I can be wrong. And if I'm wrong, that's okay with me. I don't mind not getting rich because based on my own analysis of cryptocurrency, it is simply a big automated scam. Ang matindi, gumagamit pa ng katulad sila Bill Gates, yan sila Manny Villar, sila, hindi bali si Pacquiao. Alam naman natin, walang alam si Pacquiao. Kaya hindi natin binoto. Pero somewhere along the line, I have not seen the mechanism na yung add-on present sa cryptocurrency. So with this, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to thank you for allowing me not only to explain swindling and estafa, pati yung specialization, yung 5-6, yung na-share ko sa inyo. And I hope by listening to this, you start realizing si Din Bisquera pala hindi lang law, kundi yung application ng law, yung reality sa day-to-day. Totoo po yun. Because I love the law so much, I have been able to identify where the law plays its game on this one. Ito swindling, napakalaking maraming nalolo ko dito. Maraming pa tayo example, kaya lang we will run out of time. So, marami pong salamat for allowing me to run this particular module on swindling, which is the third module pagdating sa property. Maliit na lang yung naiiwan carnapping. Ano ba naman yun? Essentially, theft din yun. Di ba, no? Pero lang konting mga modification yung batas. There is, of course, in my discussion of theft, na-demonstrate ko dyan, medyo pinagtyaga natin na maganda, yung structure ng penalties, no? Together with an insight on the indeterminate sentence law. Gusto ko sana separate module yung penalty, separate module yung na talagang punong-puno, no? And I will find time for that. But I think for purposes of giving priority, we need to focus on this one. So far, I have covered 3 major subject matters in property, crimes against property. Our timetable at the University of Manila's College of Law demands that I switch now to procedural law. Meron na akong I have my beautiful flowcharts on criminal procedure. Pero mas complicated, siyempre mas malawak yung civil procedure. Dahil yung mga applicable provisions civil procedure, ginagamit din sa criminal procedure. So I intend to line up the complete ball game on civil procedure. I have seen some who probably got an idea on how I'm doing all of these flow charts, and they tried very hard to also replicate my approach on flow chart. Ang problema, dahil hindi naman sila masyadong familiar sa flow chart, sinunod nila yung technical aspect ng flow chart. Alam mo, pag sinusunod mo yung technical aspect ng flowcharting, napaka-technical, napakahirap intindihin. If you notice, my flowchart, if I have some, I convert this into parang comics, the flowcharts, no? May mga drawing pa. So, I know kasi the fundamentals of flowcharting. Nabuhay ko yan when I was, when I started my career as a systems analyst and systems manager. Yan ang major two. Second nature sa akin ang flowcharting. But my flowcharting is intended to be understood, not to complicate matters. Okay, so expect that we will be able to come up with some along those lines. Marami pong salamat. I love you so much. Yung mga comments po nyo na natatouch naman ako, and there are instances when I am able to reply with some lengthy greetings to you. Isa nga sabi niya, Dim, hindi ko akalain ako ipapansinin mo. Naku, lahat po kayo importante sa akin. Anybody who loves the law, would like to study the law, whether ikaw ay law student, lawyer ka na, better layman ka, na may interest ka lang sa batas, pero you did not have the opportunity to go to law school. It doesn't mean you cannot learn the law, because it is our privilege and our obligation as citizens of this country to understand the law regardless of whether we took the bar exam, we studied law in college of law. Hindi po importante yun. Ang importante po, maintindihan natin ang batas. And I find pleasure in sharing with you the law, because hindi ko po akalain bibigyan ako ng Lord ng opportunity. 35 years old, mataas ng blood pressure ko because of stress, corporate world, and I was already under medical care by my cardiologist, and I was taking so much medication. Medyo nakabawi ng konti. The age of 38, 39, nagpaalam akong mag-aaral ng law. So I finally went back to law school against the advice of my doctor. Paaalala ko parati sa inyo yung para iba sa inyo na nahihirapan mag-aaral ng law. Sabi niyo, ba't si Dean Bisquera, winarningan na nga. My cardiologist, president of the Philippine Heart Association. Siya yung head ng napakatinding doktora yun. Doktora Abundo. Siyempre, she passed away already because of old age. Pero sabi niya sa akin, Joe, Mr. Bisquera, do not anymore try to go to law school. Because I assure you, sabi niya, based on my own evaluation of your health, you will die. You will not finish your 4-year or 5-year law course. So, nung pumasok ko ng 40 na ako, sa law, very conscious naman ako not to punish myself too much. But I want to learn the law so much. Interesado ako. Kahit natamad yung professor, kahit na ginagawa, kahit nag-terrorize, hindi importante sa akin. Importante sa akin, matutunan ko yung batas. And you can see how my enthusiasm is up to now. So, nung ako'y gumraduate na 45 years old, binigyan pa ako ng award. Ako daw yung cum laude. Ilan lang ang cum laude sa buong Pilipinas na graduate ng law. Doesn't matter kung saan ka graduate, UP ka, Ateneo ka, UE ka. Iba yun. Kasi pare-pareho lang naman mababa ang mga grade dyan eh. Pero yun na nga. Sabi sa akin, cum laude. Komportable. Kung medyo naging mabait pa sa akin, baka magna pa eh. Tapos class valedictorian pa, pinakamatanda doon sa graduating class. Haba pa nung aking Salus Populi et Suprema Lex na valedictory. Kaya lahat sila umaasa na kung lalaban ito. Yung kaklase ko sa accounting, si Atty. Nick Padilla, number 1 sa bar. Yung brother-in-law ko na nakatira sa akin na yung studying law, was number 2 in the bar. So, pareho silang magna eh. Ako suma. Sabi. Okay na. Nabanata na ako ni Solicitor General Guevara sa Judicial and Bar Council. Bakit na ako honor student ng taas-taas eh. Di raw ako nag-top sa CPA. Sa, ang sagot ko, ayaw ni Lord eh. Baka yumabang daw ako. Totoo naman siguro. But it did not make me less of a lawyer. And, the fact na sinabihan ako, hindi ako mabubuhay in my law school. And before I reach my 60th birthday, nandun pa rin ako, lumalaban pa rin sa Judicial and Bar Council for a potential appointment as associate justice. Tama na po yun. At ngayon, nandiyan po kayo, nanonood. Tama na rin po yan. Yung pagpuri nyo, yung pagbati nyo sa akin, yung pag-appreciate nyo. I really love you so much for giving me that kind of little consuelo. But no matter how hard I prepare for these slides, no matter how late I go to bed to upload this, nandiyan po kayo. Keep on asking your friends to be to subscribe, no? At saka huwag nyo natanggal yung advertisement, baka sakaling bayaran na nila ako kahit piso man lang out of about 75 uploads, no, for the past years. Maraming salamat and thank you very much. I will see you. I will continue to see you somehow in this particular exercise. Thank you.